The Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network, FiND, in partnership with Cavite State University, College of Nursing, Learning Through Crisis, a look back. Year 2021, a year to inspire, aspire, build, and to share. The Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network, in partnership with Cavite State University, Don Severino de las Alas Campus, and Don Cavite Philippines College of Nursing, came up to a partnership to leverage education and enhance the learning experience of nurses in the Philippines and around the globe. Filipino Nursing Diaspora, FiND, founded in 2018, the network is based in Sydney, Australia, and is an international professional organization serving the Filipino nurses who are working and living outside of the Philippines. The network was an offshoot from the International Roundtable meeting of Filipino nursing leaders held at the Australian Catholic University last July 16, 2018. The network's mission is actually to enhance the role and value the Filipino nurses across the globe. Cavite State University College of Nursing, the College of Arts and Sciences offered the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program in Cavite State University in school year 2002 to 2003, as per approval of the BOR Resolution Number 57, Series of 2001. For indeed, from an insignificant beginning to the college current status as being one of the biggest in the school community, it has grown to be one of the finest among state universities. Now headed by Dr. Evelyn Del Mundo, the college continuously upgrading its quality of education by producing competent nursing graduates, provision of state-of-the-art facilities for instruction and research purposes for students as well as its faculty members, recruitment of highly qualified faculty, and establishing good and strong affiliations with various government, private hospitals, and health centers. Webinar Series Number 1: How do healthcare professionals correct misinformation in social media? With guest speaker Dr. John Robert Bautista, held last August 29, 2020, with GAVSU Coordinator to FiND, Ms. Karen Luella-Rin, RN Man.
Number one, at least dito sa US, is yung vaccine. So there's always a debate about vaccination here. So they usually encounter vaccine misinformation.
I can say that all of us in the nursing profession were caught off guard to face this pandemic situation. It is very challenging experience for us as nurses in the academe. But I believe that caring is in the blood of the Filipino nurses.
Webinar Series Number 2: Evidence-based community interventions for diabetes and hypertension among Filipino American, global implications with guest speaker Dr. Maria Danette Blum, held last February 27, 2021, with GAVSU Coordinator to FiND, Ms. Karen Luella-Rin, RN Man.
Talk, the other part is global implications. So it's not actually, it's not just the US. This is the data from the International Diabetes Federation, where if you see all that, like all the arrows here really are going up in terms of the number of diabetes.
Webinar Series Number 3: Perils of Predatory Publishing, How Can Nurse Researchers Lead the Way? With guest speaker Dr. Leodora Labrague, RN, DM, CNE, held last April 18, 2021, with GAVSU Coordinator to FiND, Mr. Ivan Derek V. Waikoko, RN Man.
The Commission on Higher Education has a list of credible Filipino journals. If you are not aware or if you do not know of other journals where to send your paper, I encourage you, look for credible journals listed by the Commission on Higher Education.
Webinar Series Number 4: The Viral Spread of Vaccine Hesitancy, Building Vaccine Confidence via Empathy and Narratives in the Philippines, with guest speaker Dr. Mark Donald Reynosa, held last June 19, 2021, with CAVSU Coordinator to FiND, Mr. Ivan Derek V. Waikoko.
So what can we do to alleviate your fears, your anxiety? So what makes you anxious of not getting the vaccine? And then they will start like, because there were some news about Sinovac, and then there's news about this Pfizer, and then you are hearing a lot of narratives in the Facebook that why are they not giving Pfizer to us? We are paying also our taxes, and so on and so forth.
Webinar Series Number 5, Advancing Advanced Practice Nursing Globally. What Stakeholders Need to Know, with guest speaker Dr. Jasper Talarba, DNP, RN, CCRN, held last August 27, 2021, with CAVSU Coordinator to FiND, Mr. Ivan Derek V. Waikoko, RN Man.
It's important to know the different origin or where it started initially. So it was in the 1960s that advanced practice nurses actually started, and the motivation for the creation of advanced practice nurses actually emanated from the lack of physicians and also the rising healthcare costs. So those were the motivations.
Meeting in preparation for November 19 webinar with Dean Evelyn M. Del Mundo, RN, PhD, and Mr. Ivan Derek V. Waikoko, RN Man. Webinar Series Number 6, Understanding Health Behavior and Application of Theories in Research Among Older Adults, with guest speaker Dr. Mary Joyce Ramos, held this day of November 19, 2021, with CAVSU Coordinator to FiND, Mr. Ivan Derek V. Waikoko. In a span of 2020 to 2021, we have made this possible. It helped a lot of people: nurses, students, researchers, members of the academe, professors, community, and many more. Achieving in the aim of imparting scientific and up-to-date knowledge in the area of biological, behavioral, social, and medical science, gaining theoretical and practical knowledge that is essential for rendering intelligent and efficient nursing services. Nursing education also aims to contributing to the all-around development of the individual, opening horizons for the growth of a profession, and the nursing education aims at preparing nurses to carry out researches so as to add to the body of knowledge by means of scientific investigations. Reaching and disseminating information all throughout the globe. FiND and CAVSU-CON partnership has brought awareness on health, behaviors, vaccine hesitancy, evidence-based community interventions, and correct information dissemination on social media. And will continue to make things possible. As the famous saying, develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow, by Anthony D'Angelo. Thank you, and more years of strong partnership to come.
Hello, everyone, and mabuhay! Welcome to today's 8th International Nursing Webinar entitled Professional Career Development, Exploring Opportunities in Nursing.
This is brought to you by Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network and Cavite State University College of Nursing. My name is Alvin Nicole Batario from the College of Nursing, and I'm one of their program in charge today hosting right here at Cavite, Philippines. Together with me is Miss Bianca, the College of Nursing Student Council President. Hi, Miss Bianca.
Hi, Sir Alvin, and I am truly elated for today's webinar because as you have seen earlier, we have conducted a lot of webinars already, and for today, we are fortunate to be gathered once again for our eighth.
Before we officially start the webinar proper, let us unite in prayer with the audiovisual presentation to be followed by the Philippine National Anthem.
To commence this program, let us hear the welcome message of our very own College of Nursing Dean, Dr. Evelyn M. Del Mundo. Good morning, Dean.
Good morning. A pleasant day, everyone. I'm so glad to welcome you all in this event as part of the webinar series of the Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network and Cavite State University College of Nursing partnership with the theme Professional Career Development Exploring Opportunities in Nursing. A warm welcome to our respected university officials, Dr. Hernando D. Robles, our university president, Dr. Maria Agnes P. Nuestro, our OIC president and the vice president for academic affairs, Dr. Camilo A. Palinga, VP for administrative and support services, Dr. Melbourne R. Talaktak, VP for research and extension, Dr. Marilyn Escobar, the VP for planning and development, and Dr. Lolita G. Herrera, our VP for external and business affairs. With great gratitude to another chance given to us by our collaborative partner, the Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network for the 8th time, to the President of the Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network, Dr. Violeta Lopez, Dr. Cindy Lay, the Director for Professional Development of FiND, to our President of the Philippine National Association or Philippine Nurses Association Incorporated, President Melvin Miranda, welcome and thanks for gracing our webinar with your presence. To our guest speaker, Ergie P. Inocian, PhD, who will be formally introduced later. To all deans, directors, and all faculty members and staff of the Cavite State University, College of Nursing, and from the other colleges and universities, colleagues, students, friends, parents, and other stakeholders present today. Today, we are fortunate to have a renowned speaker and two reactors in the field of nursing whose expertise and experiences are truly remarkable. Their competencies, training, and exposure to the field are rich sources of knowledge and inspiration. We will be aware and obtain an in-depth knowledge about a strong professional career goals in nursing and skill sets and competencies required in each field of nursing practice from different countries. So let's listen and learn from our distinguished speakers, get down notes and be inspired, more so be challenged and be responsible as a professional nurse and future nurses. Again, we welcome you all as participating members of our educational community and appreciate your time and effort in being with us. I'm wishing you all interesting day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dean.
Okay, at this point, let's hear the opening remarks from the President of the Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network, Professor Violeta Lopez. Good day, Dr. Lopez. Dr. Lopez.
Good day to all of you, and good morning to all attendees for this webinar, Professional Career Development, Exploring Opportunities in Nursing. Once again, this website or this webinar will not be possible without the collaboration and partnership of Cavite State University College of Nursing and the Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network. The topic for today's webinar is an opportune time and something that will need to be inculcated to nursing students as well as to all registered nurses, especially during these uncertain times where there has been many reports of nursing turnover and nursing retention worldwide. Career development in nursing is both a personal and professional responsibility. Nurses nowadays have a variety of career options once they have a clear vision on which path they want to take by capitalizing their knowledge, skills, and growth potentials. The opportunities for a nursing career are endless, either in education, management, or research, or clinical practice. One of the greatest influencing factor in nursing is their ability to work in many types of environments and many different roles and specializations. Nursing are not only needed in acute care hospitals, but also in other health agencies, long-term care facilities, nursing homes, managed care centers in community or public health nursing, airports, military, medical centers, and industries. Never before has nursing been an exciting new adventure for new graduates, and they can choose among many, many job opportunities open for them. Nursing is a field that is continuously evolving. Nurses must keep abreast of the challenges as well as opportunities for career development. As early as possible, nurses must have a nursing career development plan of the short and long-term goals and strategies in achieving their goals, which are linked so closely to their own strengths and potentials. This webinar will address how nurses can explore career opportunities in nursing. And we are grateful that Dr. Ergie Inocian from the School of Nursing at Duquesne University has agreed to present his views about our webinar topic today. I encourage all of you who are listening to this webinar to ask questions and be involved in the discussion, either verbally or through the chat platform in this webinar. I also hope that the two reactors will be able to give their views about the topic of this webinar. And I thank sincerely Leanne Rapido and Ivan Derek Waikoko from the School of Nursing at the Cavite State University for participating in this webinar. Lastly, I would like to extend my thanks to Dean Evelyn Del Mundo for her continuing support and collaboration with the FiND network. I hope that you will all enjoy this continuing seminar in partnership with the Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network and be involved in our website in order to expand more and give some opportunities for other nurses working outside the Philippines. Thank you all and have a good day.
Thank you, Dr. Lopez. It is indeed another exciting collaboration we have with the FiND network. We are also pleased to have you in today's program. Just a quick reminder for everyone, let us utilize the Zoom Q&A section and the chat box for the questions. The raise hand options is available for concerns. And of course, let us observe netiquette during the course of the webinar.
And as I have mentioned earlier, we are on our 8th webinar. But for this time, we are aiming to build a strong professional career goal in nursing, discuss resources available to access for additional information in job hunting, identify skill sets and competencies required in each field of practice, explain some major eligibility criteria for the target country of destination, and lastly, to introduce the next generation NCLEX type of questions. And at this point, it is with our distinct pleasure to introduce to you our resource speaker for today.
Okay, let me introduce to you our resource speaker. He is a graduate of the Bachelor of Science in Nursing at Southwestern University. He received a certificate of proficiency in the medical surgical nursing at Cebu Normal University. Graduated a Master of Science in Nursing, major in medical surgical nursing at Cebu Normal University. And here graduated Doctor of Education, major in educational management at Southern Western University.
He was the head nurse and the acting nursing service manager from 2016 to 2019 and nursing service manager from 2019 to 2020 in King Khalid University Hospital, King Saud University Medical City, Riyadh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Currently, he is the clinical assistant professor in the School of Nursing in Duquesne University, Pennsylvania, USA.
And lastly, I think these are his research publications.
Let us welcome Dr. Ergie Pepito Inocian. Sir Ergie, you may now have the virtual floor.
Thank you, Bianca. Thank you, Nicole. A pleasant day to everybody. It's 10:30 a.m. in the Philippines and it's 10:30 midnight in the US. So apology if my lighting isn't that much good. I think it's a little bit bright red because of probably the lampshade or something. But yeah, nice to meet you, everybody. I have been to Cavite actually. I'm from Cebu, but I have been to Cavite. You know, every time I go for a vacation, I try to stop in there because I have several friends. In fact, we toured around some of the universities in there, including Dasma LaSalle. So, and yeah, those are my background, and I hope that at the end of the presentation and the seminar that we're having today, I would be able to inspire and motivate everybody to build a strong professional career, your trajectory or where you are heading. So I'd like the discussion to be interactive. So please feel free to raise your hand, ask questions, or stop me along the way if I go very fast, because I have this tendency of just speaking very rapidly. I'll try to do my screen share now. I have prepared around 30 slides though. It wouldn't take very long because I will be focusing on and sharing to you my experience and what I know, considering that in reality, I have been to 30 different countries and I have worked both in the Middle East, in Europe, and now in the US. So I'm sure that especially nursing students, they are very much interested of what actually lies ahead of them once they graduated. And even those professional nurses who are in the Philippines or who are somewhere else, and they have this, next step goal of their career, I'm sure you will be able to pick up something from here. And we do have other guests or participants who are also coming from different countries. So as I go along with the country of destination, please feel free to share your experience. What I have here is based on my experience and what I know. And if you have something in depth that could enlighten people or our participants, please do so. This is the main reason why we are having such presentation. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, Doc, we can see your presentation.
All right. So yes, I'm in the US. I'm a clinical assistant professor at School of Nursing at Duquesne University. I have been teaching at Duquesne for the last 2 years. I worked beforehand in Saudi Arabia. I have been also to Ireland in Europe. And so I basically know, because when I was looking into my future and when I set my goal, I tried to look at, where is the best possible country, or, where I could possibly explore more opportunities in nursing. And that's why maybe I ended up, like right now, I'm very much satisfied and contented with what I have and where I am. So I'd like you as well to possibly find your niche and find where you are. It doesn't matter which country you would target. It doesn't matter even you'd like to stay in the Philippines, as long as you have these future goals of where you wanted to go next. It could be, a promotion in your job. It could be, something that you wanted to achieve, because sometimes over the span of time, we feel like we're becoming stagnant. So the only way for you to feel challenged and make it more interesting in nursing field is, to always look for the next step. And I hope that I could motivate everybody, and even at least one person, right? In the Zoom meeting right now, maybe I could change something, or maybe I could inspire one person, or maybe I could give an idea, and that person will realize that yes, I have to do good in nursing because this is what my future awaits. And right now I am in, this is actually my city. It's a very beautiful city. I know that a lot of people, they might have this perception that US in general, while there's always this American dream, but we often hear some, news which are, not very pleasant about US. But in reality, it depends on where you are. I mean, anywhere you could go, there could be issues like racism. There could be issues with safety. But it's a matter of where and where you wanted to be, and finding that best place where you can excel. I have also been an active member of different organizations like the International Society of Nursing Genetics. Because as a clinical assistant professor, I'm also handling genetics in nursing subject. which is, I think, one of the next big thing in nursing, where our future professional nurses should be aware of what are those genetic diseases and how do we actually respond or deal or take care of patients having hereditary diseases. Because other than having the medical surgical course we have in the Philippines, it needs certain focus. And that's the beauty in nursing, is because we are able to specialize on a specific field. Like, there are countless of field where you can work. Some people might be, and it's a reality. Some people were maybe forced to nursing, but their interests were actually maybe in computer science or information technology. And in nursing, the beauty of it is because if you're a nurse, you can work as well aligned with your interest and what you like to do. On the right side picture, that's the university where I'm working, and it's a Catholic university. It's indeed very beautiful. So I couldn't even ask for more where I am right now. And so I hope like everybody would also feel the same. Or if you're not currently, then you look forward to it, that hopefully by, in few years' time, you would achieve something that, you could be proud of yourself. I have been an active member of the Academy of Medical Surgical Nursing, the Association of Perioperative Nursing, and the Sigma Theta Tau, which is International Honor Society. Here's the objective, which has been reviewed already by Bianca. And let's get the discussion rolling. The very first step when you build your professional career is actually know your framework. And if we talk about knowing your framework, is what's actually your goal? What do you want to achieve? What are your priorities in life? Like many people I know, and especially nurses, like we know for a fact that many people take up nursing is because of the goal of going abroad. Now, at some point, because we have this priority of our family, that's why we choose to stay in the Philippines. And it's actually okay. Because again, it's a matter of contentment, satisfaction of where you are and what you have. Okay, you don't even have to compare your own achievement with another people, but be inspired with somebody whom you think could be possibly an idol, could be a mentor, or could be somebody you look up to, and somebody you could probably, follow the footsteps. And that's how it is. You might also look into where you want to invest your energy. What's your interest? What's your strength? And what's your target areas for growth? Many nursing students after graduation, they like to work in the critical care, intensive care unit. They like to work in OR. Sometimes the medical surgical floor, it's like the last option for most people, because it feels like it's a general area. But in fact, you actually learn a lot more in medical surgical nursing. And I find it in the people in the medical surgical floor, they're even, because they consider it as like a general area and not really a specialty area. But in fact, it is a specialty. As a medical surgical nurse on the floor, you're not just dealing with a patient who might be unconscious, but you're dealing with a person who can rightfully express what their needs. And that's why we're here for as a nurse. Plus, you get to deal with the families. How do they actually cope up and support the patients? And that's what nursing is all about. And that's the beauty of medical surgical nursing. That's the beauty of working on the floor, because there's a lot of things going on. And, it could be quite unpredictable at some times, and it could be, quite difficult, but there's always this challenge on the floor. Common documents that you may have to prepare when you're trying to look for maybe job vacancy, or maybe you're trying to apply for a job. You start with your resume. You make sure that you're qualified and you have the license. If you say that in the Philippines, of course, we take the PRC exam, and after which you get license and you got the card, and that's when only you get accepted in the hospitals in the Philippines. Now, if you're going for different countries, you have to know what are the requirements for you to be able to take the exam on a certain country. Employment certificates, you have to make sure that you have that one in hand. Many applicants, especially if you're planning to go abroad, the issue is that you might not be able to get the employment certificate right away until you actually completed the contract. And that's something you have to maneuver, how you would be able to provide the certificate that you need. It could be just a reference letter from your manager. You could be honest that, especially if, some registered nurses who are in here, you could be honest that you're trying to seek a greener pasture. You're trying to apply abroad, and tell them so that they could give you the reference letter or recommendation that you need. And that would suffice to testify that you are actually working. Transcript diploma, of course, you will have it in there, reference letter and recommendations, training certificates, and among all others is the BLS, the basic life support. You can have the IV therapy, which is also essential because, of course, you're not allowed to insert cannula or give medication IV unless you have this IV therapy and phlebotomy training. And that same goes with different hospitals and institutions in different countries. Then, of course, if you go abroad, then you should have your passport, your police clearance, and your photo ready, because these are the basic things that you would need wherever you would go. Now, we're speaking about nursing resume because many times when you send your CV to apply for a job, they would always look at your document, like what's in there, what makes you qualified for the job. And before you even revise or, before you even make your resume, look at the job that you're looking for. And you can actually tailor your nursing resume basing on the job that you are applying. You could have vast experience, but if you're, for example, if you're applying for a critical care experience, then your focus of clinical competencies should also be, in intensive care, in critical care patients. You have to talk about how you use the monitor. You have to talk about how you set up the ventilator or, assist and troubleshoot with, the intensivist. And that's how they would know that you really know what you're doing. You'd write your education and BSN for everybody, your certifications if you do have, especially like here, if you're applying in the US, we do have specialty certifications that, in fact, if you have a specialty certification, there's an additional credit to you that would add up to your basic pay. Your relevant experience plus your clinical experience. What are those skills that you know? Regardless of where you're going, and these are basic things, like how do you actually, and these clinical skills, when you are being interviewed, other than the behavioral aspect of whether you are trainable, you are receptive to training, they would look at whether you know how to do those skills, because it's the general patient safety requirements. Like, do you know how to assess for fall risk? Because if your patient would fall down, there will be a lot of consequences. The pressure also. So it's either you go the Morse fall scale, you go the Braden scale. You have to mention them if you know, because the interviewer or the probable prospect employer of yours would be able to note that this person is indeed like fit for the job and suitable to be hired. Venous thromboembolism prophylaxis, like the use of heparin or clexane or low molecular heparin, and what are the safety requirements you would have to do before you give these patients, like monitoring coagulation profile. And you would have to express them clearly if you have this experience, because it follows the same again where you are heading. Now, medications. The practice of medications, we know that there should be two-person double checking, because we make sure that we don't want a medication error to happen. And in all countries, I would tell you, there should be two registered nurses who should double check whether you prepared and calculated the medication correctly. And that should be the practice for everybody, anywhere it goes. There is also what we call as a Pyxis, or an automatic dispensing machine. and we might not have it yet or somewhere, or there might be certain hospitals that you do have, but in certain countries, especially Western countries, that's the trend. Instead of having a cupboard for your ward stock, we do have the Pyxis, the automatic dispensing machine that you need to train on. Now, if you have the experience, put that one in the clinical skills. The electronic documentation, while most of us are oriented with the paper, but there's actually called electronic documentation system where, for example, the CNOR, where everything now is computerized and we don't have to have the paper file. So if you got that experience to deal with electronic documentation, highlight it in your resume. Now, medical emergency response, whether you have been involved in Code Blue, whether you are part of the rapid response team, write it down. Now, possible if you have certain experience with leadership, involvement with quality improvements, or if you have extra volunteer work, put it in there. If you have professional affiliations with organizations like PNA, it should be there. Or any relevant experience. You can always add it in your resume. So this is an example of how you would highlight your experience in a bullet style. You can put your job position currently, where you are being employed and the location, and possibly maybe at least 3 to 5 summary of your job description of what you are doing. Because when you apply for a job, that should be aligned with what you are applying. One-liners are also very good because at the very first glance, they would see what you have. And so this is a perfect example where you just put there an active member of a society from which date to another, and what are your involvements. So these are the types of one-liner which you can add possibly at the very end of your CV. Cover letters. So cover letters are also very good and sometimes required, although not often. But when you are required for a cover letter, you have to express your interest and enthusiasm of the job. Sometimes, especially new graduates, if you don't have the experience, express your desire to learn more, because people or employers, especially managers, who are part of the search committee or people who are hiring, they would like to see an applicant who is very receptive, who is possibly trainable, even if you don't have an experience. Okay. And just make it brief. You don't have to add flowery words, but just express your enthusiasm and interest when you apply for the job. Together with that, with the cover letter is, especially after the interview or, a follow-up to the application, try to send maybe an email. If you have sent it online, try to have a follow-up email regarding your application. Or if you were interviewed already, try to send a follow-up email after the interview and say you were happy to meet and being interviewed, and you would, you are very interested to the job, because that will show a lot to the employers. References. Yeah, you can have one separate document. There could be 3 to 5 people, especially like your mentors, your professors, or your managers, or somebody who knows you very well, and try to pick references whom you can approach, because not everybody has the time actually. When they ask for a reference check, sometimes not everybody could actually respond to the request of reference letters. So try to write people whom you know very well, and somebody that you can ask favor of, because again, it's a favor when you ask for reference letters, or when you ask somebody to respond to the email to verify whether you really work for them. Of course, you have to ask permission from the person and tell them that I'm gonna send your name as my reference person. Is that okay with you? And right there in your paper, what's the relationship to this person, whether the supervisor, an advisor, or a professor, and that should do good. So how do you search for a job? Like, how do you know that there are those opportunities out there? How do you know that UK is hiring? How do you know that US, the visa bulletin right now is current, that anybody who has NCLEX and who completed the documentation can be interviewed right away in the embassy? You know, through one, you would have to constantly read and explore, maybe posting or maybe work opportunities for nurses. Like even in Facebook or in social media, there are those postings where they write, oh, we're sharing this, an institution or a hospital is hiring nurses. And you could be one of those potential, job applicants. Talk to employers at career fairs, although not very common right now. Less likely people would just go to career fairs. But if it happens, try to ask and talk to them. It's an opportunity for you to learn what's the job all about. What are the requirements that you would have to meet for you to be qualified. You can check those websites online, like Glassdoor, Indeed, or Work Abroad. Try to check the website, what are the job openings. And if you can do it, and if you have a contact, try to visit the hospital or the institution where you wanted to work. I know sometimes it's not often done, but if you can do it, go for it. Sometimes we tend to have this, oh, I know somebody in that hospital, or I have a friend, or maybe I have somebody relative in that hospital and I wanted to work there as well. Talk to them, ask to them, how's the work environment, and what do you need so that you will get accepted. All right. Quick interview tips. Now, when you are being shortlisted and when they called you for an interview, you would have, I would coin it as you would need to sell yourself. Sell yourself in the aspect that you would have to show to them that you are the most qualified person for the job, because competition right now is tough. So you have to be self-aware. You would have to know what the employer or the hospital is all about, and even to the extent that you would have to know their vision, mission, and values. Why do they exist? Are they non-profit? Are they for-profit? Or are they a government? Okay. And when you are being interviewed, they will always ask you what do you bring something on the table? What makes you a unique applicant among the rest? And why do you actually need the job, or why are you applying for the job? Another thing is you would have to make sure that you are prepared and ready. Treat the interview, as an honor, as an opportunity, as a privilege given to you. When you are called for an interview, that means you are going a step forward to get the job that you want. And when you go for an interview, just act naturally. I have a friend, and he wanted to apply for a teaching position in the US. And for most people, it's not easy to get a job as a professor in the US, especially if you're an internationally educated nurse. And so he's qualified. He has the master's degree. Master's degree is actually the minimum requirements for anybody who would like to come and work and become an instructor, an educator in the US. So he was quite intimidated because he has his master's degree and he's an international applicant. And when he found this job, he talked to me and he said, what should I do? How should I do it? They called me for an interview. And then I told him, you know what? Ask yourself why you want this job and why do you want to work with them. Another thing is there's always this icebreaker when you come for the job because you might be nervous. Sometimes their first question is, why did you apply for a job? Take that as an initial question where you can be yourself. You can be very honest and transparent to them why, or you can even have like an answer that would catch their attention. Like one, my friend, I told him, you're applying for this hospital which is located near Canada, and they have a very good lake. They have a very good park and a tourist destination. If they ask you why you applied in their institution, one would be always cultural diversity, because he's applying in the US. And him being a Filipino would be a great addition, considering that, especially in the US, we are actually very big with diversity and inclusion. So if him as a Filipino coming to the US, and most of the current professors are actually whites or Americans, and so they would be interested to have him on board and become part of their faculty, because they have never had any Filipino educators with them. Plus, I told him about stories, how beautiful the place is, and I told him, you know what? Tell them about the park that they have and how beautiful it is, that you have seen in the website and you've heard good stories about it, and tell them that you want to go there. You wanted to see that park yourself. And speaking, he was asked the same question and he answered the same. And it was like an icebreaker for everybody, that people were actually laughing. Like, yes, why do you want to come to Pittsburgh? And he answered, I wanted to see your Prescal Park, your Prescal Beach. And because it's very popular, and considering that he was an international applicant, they were very surprised for him to know such detail. And among all others, there were a lot of applicants, and some of them got even terminal degree like PhD, and he has the master's degree. But all the faculty, because the hiring committee would always vote of who among the applicants they want or they like, who met the criteria. But he was actually the one being picked, because he was very natural about, during the interview process, and he was very honest and maybe possibly very just innocent in answering the question. But he was just being himself. And that is one thing that you should be doing. Because sometimes your personality and behavior would resonate when they ask questions. And that's why the panelists and the interviewers would come to like you, because they would always see, behind the appearance is a person that they can trust, the person that they can rely on and depend, and the person who's willing to learn to make the job happen. So express that whenever you are being interviewed, and I'm sure they will be very happy to hear about it. Now, after getting one or more offers, like job offers, and it's a reality, when you're exploring for opportunities, you apply not just one, you apply for more. In fact, as many as possible. So when you're being interviewed and you're being offered for a job right away, do not say final words like you accept or you decline on the spot. Because once you commit, that's final. Even if you would say verbally that, oh, I like the job and I want to work with you and I will sign for the contract. Give yourself a time. Because as much as you wanted the job, the employers as well wanted you. So give yourself the value and the worth that you deserve. Do not settle for less. Do not, if you feel that, this is the second option that you have, do not settle for it. Okay? Clarify deadline to communicate decision. Tell them, when do I expect the result or the feedback of my interview? Would it take 1 week, 2 weeks, or 1 month before I hear from you? And in the same manner, when you give, when they offer you the job, you can tell them, can I think it overnight or for 1 week and I'll get back to you? You would have to be very straightforward about it. Accept an offer verbally. If you accepted it, put another written follow-up, whether a letter or an email, because that will solidify your documentation. After accepting, withdraw from all other interview and application process. And that should be the right thing to do. If you already accepted a job and you're sure of it, now there's no use of going for another interview. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time and the time of the employers and the interviewers, and you're not giving chances to others to find, you know, what they want as well, or who is more suitable. To decline an offer, you can email your decision, wish them luck in their search if you decline for it. Let them know that you've accepted another offer which is better aligned to your current goals. And it's always the perfect answer when you say that, I apologize, but I found another job which would offer me more career growth, which is aligned with my interest. Or, you know, if one employer offered you, let's say, an emergency room position, and you were very interested with critical care, you can tell them, I cannot accept your job because I wanted to work in critical care instead of emergency department, and vice versa. Evaluating offers. Sometimes you get 1, 2 more job offers at the same time. So you would have to weigh things, right? You would have to choose. Now, the ball is in your hand, where you would have to weigh, am I getting more from this one or getting less? But it's not all about salary. I tell you, it's not all about money at the very end of the day. You have to make yourself contented and satisfied. Now, is the work environment, do you get pride when you work in that institution? That's another consideration you would have to give. Now, do they provide benefits, additional benefits? Because at the end of the day, you would have to look after yourself, and you have a family maybe to support too. You can talk to others who work there, because you will learn a lot from them, whether they say negative things or positive things. Of course, you don't have to divulge. Now, another thing maybe that I wanted you also to remember, if you're working for an institution, try to be positive in terms of your feedback, especially if somebody is asking you about where you are working, because it's your bread and butter. You have to show loyalty to where you are actually working. Because no employer would actually like to hear something negative and you're one of their employees. Otherwise, it happened a lot of times, and some of those nurses or workers are actually fired because of it. Treat interview experience as a sample of work experience. Yes, if you're invited for an interview, go for it, because the more interview you go, the more practice and the more you get used to it. Like, I tell you a personal story. I came to the US right away as a clinical assistant professor. So which means that I was also an international applicant without a bedside experience in the US. Now, what I did when I applied here is I made sure that documents-wise, I'm qualified. Now, the next step is, after they reviewed your documents and they see that you're fit, they will always ask you for interview. When I applied for a job, I actually sent multiple applications, and I was interviewed for 5 universities. Now, out of the 5 universities, I went through the first phase. And then I moved forward in some of them. The rest, they think that, they cannot provide the visa. It's going to be a hassle to hire international applicants, or they were looking for somebody else with a different experience. And it's fine. Not everybody would actually hire you. I took it as an experience where I was interviewed in 5, and at the very end, the last university who interviewed me, I was master. Like, questions were actually the same, more or less. So when they asked me those questions, I came prepared. Like, I could talk to them as if I'm just, we're just sitting on the table and talking naturally. And that's why I think, they like me and they hired me. Decide whether to negotiate your salary. And it's a fact. If there's a leeway or a room for you to ask for more, why not? I have a friend who was offered like 10,000 less of what he should get. And I told him about it, because he told me, I was offered for a job. And I told him, what? Talk to the HR and tell him, or tell the HR that, it seems like the offer is less than what you should get. And after that, they actually raise it to what the baseline is. Agencies. Okay, so we're talking about when you wanted to go abroad and you wanted to see if there are agencies who could assist you with the application. And yes, they are very useful. there are many agencies, especially Philippines, because we're like the #1 exporter of Filipino nurses, and because we are actually sought after. So agencies make a lot of money in multiple ways, whether the employers are paying them right away or whether they're actually earning from the money that the applicant is paying, or once especially in the US, for example, somebody who's here would be paid probably like $40 per hour. But if they are under an agency, the agency is cutting a $10 per hour for the next 2 to 3 years if you are under contract. So let me just check. There is a one chat question. Yes, do not be afraid to negotiate your salary because you know your worth. You know what, as much as you wanted to have the job, the employers are also looking for the perfect worker that they can have. And especially if you believe in yourself that you are the best candidate, negotiate. Ask former applicants and employees under that agency, and you would have to make sure if the agency will actually pay for all the expenses. Okay, and we will talk about in each as we move forward. In the US, there are also called direct hires. Like there are agencies who are like a bridge, but they don't ask anything. And the agencies are not your employer. You are directly hired by the employer themselves. The agency is there just to facilitate your processing. And most of the direct hires, there are instances that you would have to shoulder all the expenses. And that's why a lot of Filipino applicants are going for agencies, because agencies are shouldering the expenses, or you get reimbursed. Okay, so those are, especially those planning to come to the US, you can consider going for an agency, going for a direct hire. But I would tell you, the direct hire is always the best option. Although sometimes you would have to shell out money, but you would get the benefit of a regular employee of the hospital where you are working. Now, talking about country per country as we move forward, and I'll start with the US because I'm well aware of how it goes. So if you wanted to come to the US, and I know a lot of people wanted to come here, the most important one is whether after graduation or after 1 year or 2 years, take the US exam or the NCLEX, National Council Licensure Examination. And for you to be able to do that, you go with credentialing evaluation system, where you go with the CGFNS, and that CGFNS will provide you the credential evaluation system that the education you have in the Philippines is equivalent to the US. As a BSN, then we are also BSN in the US. And it's not a problem because our educational system is benchmarked with the US and it's comparable. Like for me, my BSN, my master's and doctorate, it's equivalent. And sometimes I feel like, I'm intimidated because many of my colleagues are studied in the country while I studied, in the Philippines. And I thought that they would try to undermine my capacity, but they didn't. In fact, they treated me as equal, and as somebody with equal footing. And that's really very good. If you apply in the US, for you to take the US exam or NCLEX, a lot of states are requiring, because you would have to pick states, which state you are going. Like I'm in Pennsylvania, but I actually took the NCLEX via Illinois because these are the I know there are maybe more, but these are the most common where a lot of Filipino applicants are taking: Illinois, New Mexico, Vermont, and New York, because they don't require social security number. Now, many of the states in the US, you cannot take the exam if you don't have the social security number. License endorsement. So after you take the NCLEX and you pass, then it's easy. Everything's gonna move forward. You simply have to endorse the license. Sometimes endorsement of the license would take time because you cannot endorse without your social security number. Social security number is just like your national ID or your tax ID, more or less. For example, I have a friend in Florida, and while he has a license in New York, when he went to Florida, it took him like 2 to 3 months before he could start really working in Florida because he could not get his license endorsed from New York to Florida. because he needs to come to the US and get the social security number for him to process his papers. And those are considerations when you ever plan to choose a state. Now, visa screen requires English test, okay, which is the most common IELTS, or you go with TOEFL. And visa screen is required, especially for most agencies before they can sponsor for your green card petition or your visa petition. And you have to get an IELTS score of at least, a 6.5 average and a 7 speaking. Correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody here are more aware, but that's what I know. A speaking score of 7 for IELTS is required, and you can go with a 6.5 average for your IELTS score. Plus, if you wanted to come to the US and apply, they need a solid experience of 2 to 3 years bedside if you wanted to become an RN in the US. Now, faculties, do not be discouraged. A lot of the faculties in the Philippines thought that they don't have a chance to come to the US to teach. Well, you do. We do. And I am a proof of that one, because I've never been to the States. I've never worked in the US, but I was hired right away as a professor. And that depends on your previous experience as a instructor, or your research evidence, or it could be a clinical background. Certifications, you can go with certifications, different types, like certification as a certified perioperative nurse, CNOR, or a registered board certified in med-surg, or certified medical surgical nurses, especially in the US. Joining professional organization, it counts a lot. If, as I've said, if you wanted, I know, the dean, don't get mad to me if I'm encouraging your faculty, but I'm sure, it's just a matter of whether that's one of your goal and you just didn't know how to move forward. If you wanted to become a professor in the US, one, for you to be a strong candidate is you should have research publications. And research publications, you should show that you are part of the peer reviewer. And that's why I'm introducing here the Publons. Publons is a website where they track how many reviews and how many publications you have, or at least have an account in Google Scholar, because they will look into it, whether you have something. Now, coming to the US entails visa, and we know about it. So there are 3 different kinds of visa where you can come to the US. An EB1, which is an extraordinary ability, and mostly professors are qualified. And my green card actually is going through an EB1, which is somehow, I'm less confident about it because it's very rigid and the requirement is very tough. But then I spoke to my immigration lawyer and my university, and they said, no, you'll be fine. We'll make sure we have a strong case for you. The EB2 is a perfect for a faculty coming to the US or who are already in the US, and is fast-paced because EB1 and EB2, there's no waiting period. The EB3, which is a green card, this is EB3, a green card, is most commonly given to registered nurses coming to the US. Okay, coming to the US, but it takes a lot of time. Now, although as of 2021 and 2022, the EB3 visa bulletin is current, but it tends to retrogress as long as 5 to 10 years. And that's what happened 5 years ago. Like there was a waiting period of 5 to 10 years that, you would know some of your friends and colleagues, they have actually waited before they were able to come to the US. H1B is a working visa, and that's why I was able to come to the US right away, because I started with an H1B. And H1B, you would be able to come to the US as long as you get an employer sponsor who will hire you, especially for faculty, and you can come here in 3 to 6 months. That's fast. Especially if you apply on January, you have the NCLEX, you have all the documents ready, you apply January, the starting of our class is August, you'll be able to come here on time. I have a friend, he's actually coming here next week already. He applied, he took the NCLEX January. well, he always bothered me asking questions what he needs to do, but he's my friend, so I assisted him. And that fast. January, he took the NCLEX. February, I saw a job posting. I told him, apply in this job, you're qualified. On March, he was interviewed. By April, he got the job offer. By May, he's being sponsored for an H-1B visa. By June, he was interviewed in the embassy and his visa has been stamped. Now this next week, July, he's coming here. So, that's very fast. And H-1B working visa is convertible to green card. And that's a very good thing about it. So consider about the waiting time, the salary offer, contract. Now, salary in the US is very lucrative, I would tell you. It depends on the state where you're going. But on average, I would say, like an RN, a registered nurse, usually earns like 300,000 pesos a month, basic pay. Of course, there's a tax, there's the house rent, and there's the car that you have to pay. But RNs in the US are the most highly paid professionals, and they have high regards. We are very much well regarded by even Americans, especially if they know that you're a Filipino, because they feel like they owe a lot to us, because we're just very caring. That's why we're always being preferred by many of the employers, that they want Filipinos to be their nurses. Contracts, sometimes especially if you sign for an agency, it could be 2 years or 3 years, but that's fine as long as they pay for everything. It's just like sometimes a stepping stone. And once you're already in a green card, you can go anywhere in the US. You can find any job that you want. Plus, the news of travel nursing, especially during the COVID, it could be a blessing in disguise for nurses, because nurses pay rose totally high. It shoots up $150 per hour or $100 per hour. That's around 5,000 pesos to 7,000 pesos or 10,000 pesos an hour. That's how much nurses are being paid. So, it could be a motivation to everybody, because at the end of the day, we wanted to better our lives. Okay. Let me move forward. If you wanted to take NCLEX, I might have to speed up a little bit, because moderators, let me know how much time I would have left. So if you wanted to take NCLEX and you have not taken it, the problem, or it's not a problem, the challenge now is we're actually changing the US exam type with what we call as next generation NCLEX. And the questions are a little harder. It's not just a simple multiple choice or a select all that apply. It could be a drop down, and I will show you some of this. This is the new judgment measurement model. It's the same as nursing process, but they're trying to change the terms as recognizing cues up to evaluating outcomes, but more or less they are the same with the nursing process. And if you're applying clinical judgment, because they wanted nurses taking the NCLEX, and they wanted to be very sure that you have this critical analysis of approaching a question or in real life in the clinical area. And so if you wanted to learn something, and by the way, I'm gonna sharing to everybody, I'm gonna send it my PowerPoint, because I'm sure I'm not reading my PowerPoint. I mean, I'm not reading it as I present it. I'm trying to explain it right away. You would have to analyze it so that you will be able to connect the dots. Like analyzing, if your patient presented with a chest pain, you might think, oh, it's angina, it's MI. But it could be something else. A person may be having pain radiating to the shoulder and into the back or right shoulder. You could say, okay, it could be a gallbladder problem or something else. But you should be able to connect based on the symptoms of the patient. And of course, the history. History is very important, because sometimes we tailor, oh, this is the disease of the person or the illness of the person because he has a history of, being officially diagnosed. And we can actually work from there. So current NGN prototypes, enhanced hotspots is when you try to highlight what they're asking for. And this is an example where they ask a question and you try to highlight, like oftentimes the question of this hotspot is they will try to ask you which of those highlight them like highlight the findings that would require follow-up. And of course, you would try to highlight the abnormal findings. Okay. This is the drop down, the close type. You are given a medication, and then you have to match it with when do you give it or when do you stop it, right? And there's a question, and you just have to pick based on the drop down menu. This is an extended drag and drop. It's like putting them on a table. Like, for example, here, delegation is a big thing in the US because we do have licensed practical nurses and unlicensed assistive personnel. And there are jobs or tasks that they can do that you as an RN, you know, your primary responsibility is to supervise them. And this is an example where you drag and drop responsibilities like what RNs can do, what LPNs can do, and what UAAPs can do, or healthcare assistants. This is another example for a matrix type where there are questions or statements where you, as a nurse, do you think it's indicated? Do you think it's essential? Do you think it's contraindicated? So you would have to pick an answer, and those are difficult questions in NCLEX. The good thing about it is, though we know that NCLEX, the minimum number of questions is 75, they have kept it at 75. It's not all about next gen. Probably out of 75, 20 questions are next gen. So the remaining 55 is still multiple choice, prioritization, or select all that apply. Now, those going UK and Ireland, and I have been to Ireland more or less with UK, they have the same patterns. When you wanted to apply there, you need an English exam, and they have a higher requirement for the English test, although now this time they try to lower it down, especially pandemic period, because they needed more nurses. Same thing, experience. In UK, you need to take the computerized base test, CBT, and then after you pass the CBT, you come to the UK, and then you do the objective structured examination where you are being, there's a return demonstration. And sometimes you could fail if you are not ready. In Ireland, we call it as a bridging adaptation program. As long as you have the IELTS, you apply to the Board of Nursing, you come to Ireland for 1 month to 2 months, you go there as a trainee, and then before they will give you a license. So that's why it's called adaptation. Starting pay, UK, and I would tell it because I check it, because I was looking at going to UK or Ireland. The starting rate in UK is actually lesser compared to Ireland, because Ireland will consider your years of experience. If you have 10 years of experience to 12 years, you will be at the ceiling of the salary scale in Ireland. And they have the so-called senior nurse. In UK, you would have to start with band 5, like as a starting. But eventually, once you reach at a higher level in UK, that's when your pay is higher compared to Ireland. But as a start, Ireland always considers your experience. UK and Ireland, no cost in processing as long as you have IELTS. Employers or agencies will pay for it. The good thing in Europe is that healthcare and education is free. And then right away in 2 years, you become permanent residents and 5 years citizenship. In the US, you come here as a green card, and in the next 5 years, you become a citizen. In Canada, if you wanted to go to Canada, you would have to go there as a PR, an immigrant status, where you would have to pay everything around 200 to 400K. And they have this point system where if you have a relative or if you have a French class, plus you cannot become a registered nurse in Canada right away. You would have to study, or if you have taken the NCLEX, you would need to endorse your license, or what we call as reciprocity in some sort. But the good thing in Canada is free healthcare and education. In New Zealand and Australia, and maybe Dr. Jerome and CJ would be able to mention about this, but in New Zealand, more or less same in Australia, many people are coming to New Zealand first because the processing would be lesser. Like in New Zealand, you would just, you will have to pay everything, because while you process the papers, you would come to New Zealand, you go with the adaptation, like the CAP, the same thing for them. You would need at least 200 to 400 still. And plus it takes, around 3 months before you get your license, and you make sure that you have ample amount to survive. In Australia, and I would be very frank, you might need 500 to 1 million pesos for you to go to Australia, because the AFRA registration itself is already 500,000. And there's an outcomes-based assessment, or now the latest one is the NCLEX exam as well, plus the OSCE in Australia. And they need to verify your license and experience, plus police clearance from all countries. In the Middle East, which is somehow an easier way to go through and as a stepping stone, that's why I started in Saudi Arabia, because I didn't actually have money. I have to support my own self. And I found that, coming to Saudi Arabia, where they hired me right away, I don't have to spend a single peso. They shouldered everything for me. I think, and I thought it's a good deal. Qatar, UAE, and Oman, the same thing. You just have to take the prometric and AHAAD, and sometimes these are all reimbursed by the employers. Sometimes there are agencies fees they are collecting, which is equivalent to 1 month salary, but there are others who doesn't really ask. And you would have to weigh if you wanted to work in government and private. Government hospitals pay more. And that's why I started with a private hospital in Saudi Arabia. And after 2 years of contract, I moved to a government hospital. And I would be very honest, my pay went tripled from private to government. So that's another consideration you would have to do. And yeah, I'll take the remaining minutes of my time for a question and answer. I went through it very fast, but I hope I'm able to give you an overview of where you wanted to be and what are the opportunities out there. You just simply have to explore.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that enlightening, sir, and realistic as well. And it's really happening for those who are looking for their career as a nurse, and very inspiring and exciting for our part to find our own career in nursing, especially for those who are listening, who are a student right now. And that is a very good presentation, Dr. Inocian.
Yes, I agree with that, Sir Alvin, because I myself am a graduating student, so that or those information were truly beneficial for us as we are embedded with our thoughts, with our fears in what to expect after our graduation and getting that RN. So thank you so much, Doc. And before we proceed, we'd like to encourage everyone to please key in your questions on the Q&A section in the lower portion of your screen, and we will be reading them all out loud later.
Okay. So before we go ahead and take some of your questions, I would like to call in our first reactor for today. She is the currently job replacement coordinator of the College of Nursing of Cavite State University. Let's all welcome Ms. Leigh-Ann B. Rupido.
All right, so good day to all our distinguished nurse, specialists, and educators to the Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network with its CEO, Dr. Jerome Babate, and its president, Dr. Villalota Lopez, to the Philippine Nurses Association, National President, Dr. Melvin Miranda, and to our accomplished resource speaker, Dr. Ergie Inocian, and to everyone participating in today's webinar. So yes, so before I would like to thank our resource speaker, Dr. Inocian, for your enlightening and insightful presentation that you have shared with us. Actually, there's a lot that have been discussed, and elaborated in terms of career progression of nurses. And actually, on a perspective of a nurse educator and as the job placement coordinator of our college, this activity has been truly relevant and informational to all nurses out there, and especially not to all student nurses who are yet to start their career and plan for their professional endeavor as future nurses. So, and those who intend not to plan for their career progression. And I would like to the talk of Dr. Inocian reminded me on my attempt, on my first attempt to apply on an overseas vacancy, no? So actually, I landed on a job, no, as a cardiovascular telemetry nurse through a job posting on an online site. So yes, no, same as Dr. Inocian, Saudi Arabia is actually the most convenient one, no, to start with, because it actually offers, yes, those benefits, no, such as no placement fees, and all those reimbursable fees that you can take advantage of, no. And so, no, so, and then everything followed is a history. And just to take, no, some points out of what Dr. Inocian had mentioned to us, I would like to highlight that it is actually important to begin with the end in mind. So choosing a career path could actually be a personal endeavor, no? It will require personal motivation. And motivation is actually a complex and individual process. And it could vary, no, to each and every one. So nurses needs actually to be motivated for them not to discover the potential career paths, no, in the nursing profession. So actually, the first few years of the profession into nursing is actually I don't know if it's the exciting part, no, because this will be the time that you will come to realize, no, which which field you are actually would like really to venture and specialize with. So again, so reflection, awareness is a key, no? Capitalize on your strengths, and then find areas where you can also grow. Now, as an educator, no, a graduate nurse to a registered nurse to a nurse practitioner, um, um, and to anyone, no, that wishes to pursue a career in nursing, um, it's always good, no, to look, no, for a kumbaga in a specialization where you can really enjoy, no. The profession of nursing is not that a piece of a cake, no. It's not just an icing of kumbaga, it's not an easy task. Actually, it's really a devotion, it's really a vocation, a calling, no. I was reminded, no, in my first few months, no, into the profession, it's like parang there's something that um can I still go back to the time where I was still a student, because it's really different now, no. So you get to be you get to really be responsible, no, for everything. and and on to the profession, the next few years it went well, and you realize that you wanted something more, and that where you decided not to move further. And yes, so on to that. And then so everything will actually be, no, an awareness, no, within the kumbaga within you. So moreover, no, it's also important for all nurses to understand that career progression may also require an investment. Now, one must actually invest not to improve oneself through various undertakings. And we are actually not limited to indulge ourselves to additional trainings. No, we can also pursue additional postgraduate courses, and also and also involve ourselves with professional organizations, no, for us to keep no abreast no with our profession. And with all of those no with the turnover, especially yung the actually talking about the local issues of the nursing profession in our country, there's a lot of issue that must be kumbaga addressed. And what is important now in terms of career progression is for you to really find the field that you really would like um, to to practice, no? Kumbaga in long term, no? We have our short and long term plans, and altogether, no? You should not be practicing it just right after graduation. I would like to work, no, in this particular hospital, and this is the only available. You have the choice, no, you have the choice to move further, and that nurses no have the power not to do so. So you are not limited to actually stay no in the same place where you are now. Just to conclude, no, again, what Dr. Inocian have shared with us today is a manifestation that nurses are actually flexible. No, we are not limited to work in the hospitals. We can work no in a lot of fields, no, where we wanted to actually engage, and it's our choice, no, and the realization will start with us, and it's also up no for us to pursue and um go for it. So that's it. So again, thank you, Dr. Inosian, for your wonderful talk for today. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Lay.
Let's now have our second reactor for today. He is a faculty from the College of Nursing, Cavite State University as well. The virtual floor is yours, Mr. Ivan Derek V. Waikoko.
Yes, hello, good morning.
Good morning,
Uh,
sir.
okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ergie Inocian. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to each and everyone. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I personally, or we can never forget, our very first job interview after passing the board exam, right? Our body language, our hundreds of hand gestures, our vocal variety, and our outfit choices, which made and making us particularly pressure filled. But were we able to inject confidence? Yes, it was a terrifying and atrocious experience, yet a dazzling one. These are nurse residency programs, nurse enhancement programs that encourage us as nurses to pursue further education, certification, and community participation, and ultimately broaden our scope, all aim to improve outcomes and quality. Interdisciplinary shared governance model nurses as leaders and brings those things to the reality that allow us to flourish, to be the voice, not just for our patients, but also for our practice of care. In a variety of these clinical healthcare settings, we nurses are to promote innovation and put evidence-based care into practice. A common definition of the role is challenging because we go by many different names, including change champions, clinical leaders, facilitators, and local change agents. We have been defined as people with the power to affect change, typically operating within our particular clinical specialty. Peers and managers, they view us as change agents and role models who contribute to an organization's efforts to raise the standard of care. We do these duties in both official and unofficial capacity, with the primary goal of implementing initiatives and programs that are being supported by evidences. The therapeutic environment and the organization benefit from our influence. We carry out quality control and improvement programs to enhance patient outcomes in healthcare and definitely in our community. About our path as nurses, the reasons why we take on the role, the reasons why we stay in the role, and the support required to advance further our professional development is little is known. But walking our path of becoming a nurse, how being a champion connects to me or to us personally, the champion's journey, things that happen along the way, foundations to flourish, influences, and keys to growth as a champion. And what's in it for us, reasons for being champion. These capture the deeds and happenings that molded our journeys as nurses. Yes, it has been a fascinating journey for us, nurses, to become champions. One that was affected by a variety of causes. Our quest to become champions in the local and international arena are motivated by a desire to improve the lives of others. Hence, we look for prospects for professional growth that are encouraged by the powerful bosses and positive role models. We are in charge of inspiring, yes, directing, yes, and putting initiatives to enhance healthcare outcomes into action. And those who are active in developing and supporting upcoming nursing champions like our health allied students, our allied health students today can benefit from knowing how to champion the future, the factors that would shape their development, and the reasons they continue in the nursing journey. And to end my response, let us leap into a big upgrade, into anything that stretches and challenges us. Anxiety and excitement are similar emotions. The only difference is the mindset to become globally competitive nurses of the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sir Ivan.
Now we have been fortunate to have with us today the president of the Philippine Nursing Association Incorporated. Let's call on President Melvin Miranda for a special message.
Thank you very much. To the Cavite State University administrative officials headed by Dr. Hernando Robles, University President, Dr. Evelyn Del Mundo, Dean of College of Nursing, members of the CSU Academic Council, to our dynamic faculty members, clinical instructors, and students across the regions of the country, to Dr. Violeta Lopez, President and officers of the Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network, PNA Cavite Chapter President and CSU College Research Coordinator, Professor Nenita Panaligan, and to our esteemed resource speaker, Dr. Ergie P. Inocian, moderators, reactors, and to our Filipino nurses who are at the forefront of the universal healthcare. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. According to World Health Organization in 2013, nursing expertise continues to be developed through post-basic education, mentoring, and other career development activities. Increasingly, approaches and programs are being more efficiently implemented so that nurses can build on their qualifications and experiences to become effective leaders and manager. Even Dr. Patricia Benner, a nursing theorist who first developed a model for the stages of clinical competence in her classic book, From Novice to Expert, Excellence and Power in Clinical Nursing Practice. Her model is one of the most useful frameworks for assessing nurses' needs and different stages of professional growth. With this global direction on professional development and career opportunities, the partnership of the Filipino Nursing Diaspora and Cavite State University College of Nursing continuously provide venues to explore initiatives for our professional nurses and nursing students through various platforms. The Philippine Nurses Association, PNA, as the accredited professional organization of nurses, is in full support to nursing organizations and networks such as Filipino Nursing Diaspora and higher education institutions such as Cavite State University, who are reflexive and responsive to the needs of our nurses in the country, the regions, and the growing global village. PNA is very much open to explore partnerships with Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network in the realization that it will expand our horizons with our common vision for our nurses. And for Cavite State University, Philippine Nurses Association can actively take part in your academic stakeholders industry council. The expertise and shared experiences of Dr. Inocian are our esteemed speaker with the manifestation of a high caliber global Filipino nurse with 3 C's, who is competitive, competent, and compassionate healthcare specialist with his commitment in nursing education. His contribution even outside the country is remarkable since he maximized the opportunity through this webinar in sharing his acquired knowledge, skills, and attitude. Moreover, the fulfillment in these endeavors will be measured through its impact to our audience. And I truly believe, Dr. Inocian, that you have already established the culture. Creating a culture in which nurses feel encouraged to grow professionally should be emphasized in all healthcare settings. Increasing nurses' opportunities for professional development has proven helpful in increasing nurse retention and satisfaction and the quality of care provided. The milestone pathway is one tool that encourages such growth. The milestone pathway produces a customized guideline for nurses in their field of specialization. Through personalized plans, nurses are able to establish goals that are specific to their needs and desire, which the tool is unique because it is unit-specific and also personalized for each nurse. Through our collective efforts and call for action towards professional growth and career opportunities for Filipino nurses across various fields of specializations and varied healthcare settings, let us continue to advocate of translating our aspirations into reality. First is the enactment of the Philippine Nursing Act and policies with the PNA 10+1 priority agenda. Number 2, strong representations of nurses in executive, legislative, and judicial system, and even in health boards for provincial, municipal, and city health boards, by which it will serve as our voice for professional development and career opportunities for our nurses. Third, the advanced practice nursing, guided by our Professional Regulatory Board of Nursing on career progression framework. And last, bridging gaps between the nursing education and practice, and this could be collaborated with ADPCN. To our Filipino nurses and nursing students, let us continue to give our full support to the initiatives of Filipino Nursing Diaspora and Cavite State University College of Nursing. And the Philippine Nurses Association is with you towards the attainment of our vision. PNA extends our congratulations to the organizers. Good morning to everyone.
Thank you so much, Sir Melvin Miranda. And before we head on to our open forum, let us be entertained by a song number by our very own student from the College of Nursing, Gabriel Aramin.
Some things begin then just see take a little time and listen to the birds. No, it's not the same for me. Can you feel me? This is such a wonderful place to be. Even if there is pain out, everything would be alright. For as long as the world still turns there night and day. Can you hear me? There's a rainbow always after the rain. Getting high, getting low, when you lose you should go. Yeah, yeah. Getting warm, getting cold, whether it could be so good or bad. But baby, this is life now, don't get mad. No, no, no. 'Cause can you see that no matter what happens, life goes on and on, and so baby, please smile. 'Cause I'm always around, and I'll make you see how beautiful life is for you and me. Take a little time, baby, see the butterflies' colors, listen to the birds. Now it's in the same for me and you. Can you feel me? This is such a wonderful place to be. Even if there is pain now, everything would be alright. For as long as the world still turns there night and day. Can you hear me? There's always after the rain. Life's full of challenges, not all the time we get what we want. But don't despair, my dear. You'll take each trial and you'll make it through the storm. 'Cause you're strong, my faith in you is clear. So I say once again, this road's wonderful. Let us celebrate life that's so beautiful. So beautiful. Take a little time, baby. See the butterflies' colors. Listen to the birds. Though it's in the same for me and you. Can you feel me? This is such a wonderful place to be. Even if there is pain out, everything would be alright. For as long as the world still turns there night and day. Can you feel me? There's a rainbow always after the rain.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, Gabriel Aramin. 'Di ba? The song was really inspirational, and it was really touching, and I can really remember the line that it says that there would always be a rainbow after the rain, like after every struggles and after everything that we're gonna experience after our graduation, after getting that RN, then we will be still looking forward to our own rainbows. And now, let's proceed to the open forum. Sir Alvin, are we ready with the questions?
Yes, of course. And then most of the questions here in our platform was already answered by Dr. Inocian, but we must to review some of the questions from our audience, of course. And then let me read some of the questions coming from the anonymous attendee right now. Hi, good morning and good and evening to you po. How do you think we can be nursing informatics in the Philippines? And then Dr. Inocian answered, you could take some courses in nursing informatics, even online to gain certificate. Often you need to gain experience first in that institution and rise from rank to become nurse informatics because you need to oriented with the documentation, right, Dr. Inocian?
Yes, that's right. Well, we don't have a very specific specialization in nursing informatics. And while in the US, we do have where you can take a DNP with concentration in nursing informatics. Our specialty in the Philippines is quite limited, and so most of those are, integrated in different types of master's level. For example, like when I did my master's of medical surgical nursing, I had one subject which was focused on nursing informatics, and in fact, I got a job offer in Qatar, and I was supposed to go there, and they offered me as a nursing informatics educator, and I only used that subject that I had in my master's level to back up my training. Plus, of course, I had experience as an educator in the hospital where we train nurses for the documentations electronically. And being nursing informatics is not all about just documentation. There are broad, vast skills that you would have to learn. So for a fresh grad to do it, it might be tough. But once you have more experience and really you're leaning towards that specialty, you would have to do it, try to find something where you gain more credentials, like on your own.
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Inocian, for that wonderful answer. And then I might pick another question from this platform, and I think came from the BSN Level 3, Section 5 from Mr. Mac Vince Apple Mendoza. The question is, good day, Sir Inocian. Would you mind sharing your thoughts on applying to be a USRN for clinical research or simply working in the field of research as someone with a nursing degree? And then the answer is you need to the NCLEX and background experience in clinical research like clinical trials. Right, Dr. Inocian?
Yes, I have worked with a clinical trial unit because before I left Saudi Arabia, we have this clinical trial unit where we, have research studies about medications, how effective in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trial. Now, for you to become part of the clinical research one, they would ask you to have background about research, and that would be proven either you have a master's level or even to the PhD level, depending on the topic. Because there are, when we do clinical research, it's very specific to it's either a disease or a very specific to, probably to a medication. Plus, in clinical research, we have a different types of documentation where we really follow the ethical guidelines and how we report data entry. So, it's a whole process where you can also learn on the spot or when you're on the job. But you need to find something on your own where if you wanted to get hired on that job, and if you're an external applicant, it might be hard. But if you're already employed to the institution and they have an opening about becoming a clinical research, if they see you as one with the right behavior, with probably at least a little knowledge or basic knowledge about it, then you can nurture it once you get already the job, and they will offer it to you. Many times this special job, these are being given to you. Sometimes you don't have to ask because they see your potential.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Inocian. I believe some of the answers, again, have been answered already by our very own research speaker down in our Q&A box, and our participants can freely see them as well. But Dr. Inocian, we have gathered another question that haven't been answered yet, and this came from Mario Di Mapilis, and the question is, how to better gather credentials to improve hireability?
Well, especially for the fresh grad, and I tried to answer it now, and there was a similar question about it. If you're a fresh grad and you don't have any experience, of course, in the hospital, and you wanted to apply, and you always start with either private or government in our country. And I know that our hospitals are trying their best to be fair and impartial in terms of their decision making on who is more suitable. So you as a fresh grad should indicate your skills learned from your related learning experience. You can even put there where have you been assigned, whether you have been in PGH or which hospital you have been exposed. And most often, if you apply for a job, like for example, I say you have been exposed or you have been in the RLE in St. Luke's and you wanted also to apply in St. Luke's, then write it down in your CV so that they would know that, oh yes, this student has been with us before and somehow has a background of our culture, of our practice, of our policy, and that will make you have the edge over other applicants.
All right, thank you so much for entertaining our questions, Dr. Inocian. But for other questions that are left unanswered, Dr. Inocian have provided his email, which writes ergip@icloud.com. So you can just email him the other questions. And at this point, we would like to award the certificate of appreciation to our resource speaker and our guests.
Okay, so allow me to read the certificate. The certification of appreciation is awarded to Dr. Ergie P. Inocian for imparting his knowledge and expertise as resource speaker in the FiND and Cavite State University webinar series, Professional Career Development Exploring Opportunities in the Nursing, held on 16th day of the July 2022. Signed by Professor Violeta A. Lopez, President of FiND Network, and of course, Dr. Evelyn M. Del Mundo, our Dean of the College of Nursing.
Congratulations, and thank you so much, Dr. Inocian.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
And now awarding the certificates to our panel of reactors. The certificate of appreciation to our reactors. This certificate of appreciation is presented to Ms. Leanne B. Rupido for sharing her knowledge and insights as panel of reactor in the FiND and CVSU webinar series, Professional Career Development, Exploring Opportunities in the Nursing, held on the 16th day of July 2022. Signed, Professor Violeta A. Lopez, the President of FiND Network, and the Dean of the College of Nursing, Dr. Evelyn M. Del Mundo. Congratulations and thank you so much, Ma'am Lei.
Thank you.
All right, and now awarding the same certificate of appreciation to Mr. Ivan Derek V.Y. Cockle. Let's give them a virtual round of applause. Congratulations, Sir Ivan.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. At this point, I would like to call in our research coordinator of the College of Nursing, Professor Ninita B. Panaligan, for her closing remarks. So sorry for that. And then another certificate of appreciation will be awarded to President Melvin Miranda, our president of the Philippine Nurses Association Incorporated, for delivering inspirational message in the FiND and CABSU webinar series, Professional Career Development, Exploring the Opportunities in the Nursing, held on the 16th day of the July 2022. Of course, signed by our Professor Violeta A. Lopez, the President of FiND Network, and together with Dr. Evelyn M. Del Mundo, the Dean of the College of Nursing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so at this point, I would like to call in the research coordinator of the College of Nursing, Professor Ninita B. Panaligan, for her closing remarks. Ma'am Net.
Hello, good morning and good afternoon. It's already 12:04 at noon. So to our university president, Dr. Hernando Robles, with our officer in charge, Dr. Maria Agnes Nuestro, to all the vice presidents of Cavite State University, to our dean, the College of Nursing, Dr. Evelyn Del Mundo, and to the president of the Diaspora, FiND Diaspora, Dr. Violeta Lopez, Dr. Jerome Babate, the secretary, and of course, our very own, a Filipino internationally known guest speaker who is with us today, Dr. Ergie Inocian, and to our invited guests from the Philippine Nurses Association, the president himself, is with us. So Dr. Melvin Miranda, thank you very much, Dr. Inocian and Dr. Miranda, for gracing our event for this morning. So to our faculty members and to the students who are with us this morning, this is a very timely webinar for everyone. Why? Because at current time, we are in exodus of nurses, but the opportunities are plenty. They are always with us, whether it's locally and abroad. So with my closing remarks for this morning, what I really want to express is our take home messages from our guest speakers. Okay, so our guest speaker mentioned about how are we supposed to market ourselves, no, locally and internationally. So he taught us how to give, how to prepare our self for our applications. How are we going to sell our self to international employers as well, and what are the strategies that we can adapt or utilize so that we can be selected from those many applicants, you know, in the basket. Now we call it in the basket, but definitely in given this webinar, the webinar's objective is for us nurses to be aware of the different opportunities that we are having right now. No? But given this as such, with the talk given to us by Dr. Miranda, who is our PNA president, the message is very clear that we are, as a Filipino nurse, we are always encouraged to serve our country first. No, I think that's the first and foremost message. So after graduation, we are to give service to our Filipino people. But at any rate, that should not stop us from getting more opportunities abroad. No, we also need to think of our future and our families. But while doing those things, no, we should be motivated to while we are remaining in our country. There should be we should utilize those times that we are working in our country. Utilize those times to be experts, to be proficient in our skills, and to gain more knowledge about the different competencies that would be required, not only here in the Philippines, but also in abroad. Okay, so that period of time wherein we should be discovering more of our weaknesses and our strength, those also are our period to think where we can be best fitted internationally and abroad. Okay, so the invitation abroad is very timely and very so motivating, not only because of monetary remuneration, but also because of prestige and being known. Because once you went to other countries, you are being recognized also because of your marketability. And okay, and then but at any rate, given that, we should always remain to be competent. We should always remain to be compassionate. We should always remain to be caring nurses, no, wherever we are. So given these things that we are to do, and we are still to be proficient about, I would like to end this webinar by saying and congratulating all of us, because we are very fortunate as nurses to be given opportunities of being recognized around the world, especially during the time of pandemic, wherein we were able to showcase our competencies and our commitment to the service during those hard times that we did not forget our responsibility and being resilient in those challenging times. The demand for employment abroad will always be there. Okay, but the response that we will make to that invitation will always be dependent upon our decisions. So whether or not we will be accepting those invitations because of some personal interests and some professional motivations. At any rate, all of those, I hope that we will be guided by the humbleness and by the genuine motivation to serve the patient, the clients, and and all the constituents that we will be working with wherever we go. Okay, so to all our students, may this open doors to all of you that there is a future, a very good future welcoming each and every one after graduation. And also, this is also an eye-opener for the faculty members because as shared by Dr. Inocian, there are a lot of opportunities also for faculty workers, but for faculty members. But may this also be may this also be a reflection of how are we going to make our decision in terms of our motivations and commitment for teaching as well. Okay, so given that, may I thank you and say our gratitude to all those panel members who are with us today, for the working committees who work hard for this webinar, for the FiND diaspora who is always very supportive of the Cavite State with regards to our international collaboration on webinars like this, in promoting the welfare of the nurses, in increasing the competencies and the knowledge that the nurses should have, and in giving more information about what is being offered and available for nurses as well, local and international. So given that, again, thank you everyone and congratulations.
We appreciate all of you being here, and at this juncture, we would like to thank the following: Cavite State University Administration, headed by the fast and the serious University President Dr. Hernando D. Robles, and our OIC of the Office of the University President, Dr. Maria Agnes P. Nuestro.
And of course, we would like to thank Filipino Nursing Diaspora Network. Thank you very much, Dr. Violeta Lopez, Dr. Cindy Lay, and Professor Jerome Babate for hosting today's event and partnering with us. It's always a pleasure.
And we would like to give thanks as well to the Philippine Nurses Association Incorporated.